Hi, welcome to the Kentucky Christian Writers Conference YouTube channel. I am Cindy Smith, and I am the faculty chair for the KCWC 2025 conference. We will be holding our conference in Elizabethtown, Kentucky, October the 16th through the 18th. And so head over to our website, KentuckyChristianWriters.com, and register. We would love to have you join us. Today, I'm going to be interviewing Larry Leech, and he is one of our faculty for this year. So welcome, Larry.
Thanks, Cindy. Appreciate you having me on.
We're excited to have you. I got to know you last year when you took part in our 2024 conference, and I'm excited that you're joining us again this year.
Thank you. It's good to be back.
So for those who don't know, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, like where you're from and maybe what you like to do for fun?
Okay, very quickly. I am a Florida boy. I was born in Florida but raised in southwestern PA because when you're 6 years old and dad moves to a different part of the country, you don't have any say. But I moved back to Florida as an adult, and I lived most of my life there. My wife and I live in upstate South Carolina right now. And we're about an hour from our son and his wife and our granddaughter. And what do I like to do for fun? I love to golf. Being a Florida boy, I used to golf every week. And my son introduced my wife and I to a Star Wars X-Wing game that is a tabletop game with ships where you maneuver them around with markers and roll dice and try to shoot each other down and win the game. And I play in international leagues and host tournaments in the upstate every quarter, and getting ready this fall to host actually a regional tournament for X-Wing players here in the U.S.
Oh, excellent. I'm going to have to tell my husband about that game. I think that's something that he and my daughters would enjoy playing. They're very much about strategy games, and
Yep.
I'm going to have to, and they love Star Wars. So that's something that they will be right up their alley.
I would love to Zoom with them, and I could show them how to play.
I will tell them and let them know. In fact, Christmas Day, usually our tradition is to watch one or two of the Star Wars movies. That's
same here.
So that's and I go to Central Florida with Sarah Turnquist, who's our coordinator for the Kentucky Christian Writers Conference, usually once a year. And I had so much fun going to Hollywood Studios and seeing the whole Star Wars area. So, seeing the stormtroopers and the
Kylo Ren, and yep.
Yeah, that's just so much fun. That is so much fun. So what kind of writing do you do?
I do a couple different things with my writing career. I'm a ghostwriter primarily. I've ghosted 34 books at this point. I have some suspense short stories of my own coming out later this year. But most of my writing currently is ghostwriting. Now, I'm a former journalist. I was a journalist for 23 years. My bio says that I published 2,300 articles, but that's a bio that I went back and looked at a couple of years ago. I've probably published more than 3,000 articles. I was a sports writer for 9 years and a magazine editor for 5. So I have a lot of experience writing. I started 3 months out of high school as a sports writer in the Pittsburgh area. And so I've been doing this for more than 40 years at this point.
Oh, wow. Wow, that's amazing. That is an accomplishment. So congratulations on that.
Thank you.
That is wonderful. You have a wealth of experience and knowledge to share. And what is your favorite tip to offer aspiring writers?
I have two. I thought about this question after I saw it. I have two. And I share this along with my writing. I'll just throw this in. I'm a freelance editor. Most of my time nowadays is devoted to coaching. I do one-on-one coaching with writers. The one tip that I tell every writer that I meet with, particularly if they're new, is to get a prayer team to pray for you and cover your writing, cover you personally. Because when we step into what God's calling us to do in terms of writing, we put a big target on us. And I've said for years, there are many days that I feel like I have my right hand on the keyboard and the other hand doing this, trying to knock the enemy off my shoulder because he is whispering in my ear how horrible I am, that I don't know what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
And he doesn't whisper once. He just sits there and bothers me all day long. So get a prayer team. And I encourage authors, aspiring writers to be specific with your prayer requests. And when prayers are answered, let your prayer team know, because intercessors love to know when their prayers have been answered. Keep them updated throughout the process. And at the end, when you're done with that particular project, please make sure that you mention them in your acknowledgments in your project.
Mm.
The other tip that I like to give writers is be connected. It is lonely to sit at Starbucks. I mentioned Starbucks, that's where I go every day.
Yes.
Excuse me. It can be lonely doing this journey by yourself.
Mm.
But getting published is a group effort. A lot of people need to come around you to work with you to get you to a publishable level, and then get connected with an agent or a publishing house, and then they have their editors and design team, marketing team come around you as well. But before that, get connected, find accountability partners, find a writers group, go to writers conferences. Try and get published by yourself is not a good way to start your journey, and more than likely you will not enjoy success.
Mm. That is some really good advice. I had not thought about having a prayer team around you, and I think that is beautiful, because
Thanks.
People who are writing in the Christian world are wanting to share God's redemptive story with people who know the Lord, people who don't know the Lord. And you're right, the enemy is going to be there every step of the way trying to discourage you.
A turning point for me on that was 10, 15 years ago when I was at a conference down south. My mentor, who at the time was in his 80s, had published 200 books, said that he still has the enemy chirp in his ear. He didn't quite say it that way. And I sat in the audience that day and thought, it will never end. So I might as well get ready for it and do what I can to gather people to help me through this process.
Right. And when we look in Ephesians, the armor of God, when Paul's talking about putting on the armor of God, he ends it by saying, and pray about everything, pray always. So that is exactly what we need to be doing. I like that a lot. I am excited about your classes that you're going to be teaching. There are the adorable and tags, use your words, and great writing. So would you say these classes are more instructional or interactive, inspirational, all three?
I will say all three. I have developed a teaching technique based on how I like to be taught. The first conference that I ever attended, I was on faculty.
Oh, wow.
All right. So, over the years, I would drop in, see other faculty members and see how they taught, and was able a few times early in my career. And I'll have to quick aside, I've had two different careers. I had a 23-year journalism career, and then I transitioned from that into my freelance career. So when I say career, I'm talking about working in the inspirational market, because I didn't do any teaching when I was a journalist, except for teaching my staff. Anyway, I developed this technique based on how I like to be taught. So my classes are all very interactive. And I say very because along with being instructional, teaching theory, there is a point in all my workshops where it's hands-on. And one of my goals is to make sure everyone in class speaks at least one time. So after I teach a little bit of theory, I use their work in progress to illustrate the points that I'm trying to make with my teaching.
Mm. That's really important, because I think we get, as someone who's gone to writers' conferences,
Mm-hmm.
you're given so much information. Like, how do I put this into practice? So having that hands-on, being able to put it into practice right away is so important.
And sometimes we'll brainstorm ideas, or, in my adorable ANTAG, I ask every person in class who their ANTAG is, what they want, why they want it, all of that. And I've had a couple classes in which someone was stuck. So we would brainstorm right there on ideas how to bring this ANTAG to life for this writer.
Mm.
Very fun.
And it is fun. It is fun. I learn best by doing. So I think that is a perfect way for others to learn too. I think it's just putting what you're learning into practice, because I've been to the Kentucky Christian Writers Conference, and then I went to a marketing conference for novel marketing conference, and you felt like you were drinking from a water hose. So having that time to sit down and say, okay, what he just taught me, I can put it into practice, and that's
exactly.
You'll remember it so much easier.
Yeah, I'm pushing teaching at 130 conferences at this point.
Oh, wow.
So faculty, we have to give the attendees what they need in a class. Mm-hmm. And I think one thing that works best, from my experience, is understanding the level of writer in your class. Mm. You may have 75% newbies and 25% intermediates, or 20% intermediates and 5% veterans, but still, there's something, if an attendee is willing to learn, no matter where they are in their writing journey. But I think as faculty, we have to get a feel for the room when we present. Sorry, I'm starting to coach. It just comes out.
That's okay. No, that's great. I love it. I love it. Speaking of antagonists, here is a quote, and I want to know if you think this is true. There isn't anyone who you couldn't understand once you get to know their backstory.
I agree. Yeah. One of the things that I teach pretty much in every workshop when I teach anything related to storytelling is to interview your characters. Your protag and your antag, definitely, but your major secondary character, or if there are other major characters that have a point of view. And this comes from my experience as a journalist. In my journalism career, I interviewed more than 13,000 people. Okay. So it wasn't just getting information out of people at times. Sometimes it was, but other times it was getting inside someone's head and crawling around to find out who they are and why they are who they are. Because we know in storytelling that we have to have a motivation, but what is the why for the motivation? So when you know the backstory and the why of the motivation of the characters, then you create deeper characters. Mm-hmm. So that quote, I wholeheartedly agree.
Yeah. And having deeper characters can will draw your reader in, and they can connect to them. Even the antagonists, you can, I always think of Loki. I don't know why he's
I love Loki.
He's supposed to be a bad guy, but you feel for him because of his backstory, and
Darth Vader's the same thing.
Yeah.
The same way. I mean, Loki and Darth are two characters that I spend a lot of time exploring in Adorable Antags because they are deeply hurt characters. Mm-hmm. I won't give away a lot of what I'll teach in that class, but it's one of my favorites because without a great villain, we don't have a story.
Right. We wouldn't root for the good guys if we don't have someone.
If there's nothing pushing against them, then it's a walk in the park for the protag.
I think just as an aside, the prequels, the 3 prequels where Anakin turns into Darth Vader, it was really hard to root for Anakin because you knew where he was going. And yes and no.
But there's more than that. With Darth, the movies are a very small portion of the Star Wars universe. I mean, I don't know if you could see these books behind me, but there's a whole canon of books, and there are the animated series, the Clone Wars, even the Ahsoka live action series, The Rebels. We find out so much more about Darth in the depth of his hurt and his pain that the original movies and the prequels really, they just scratched the surface, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. So when what would you, or let me start over. My tongue got going faster than my brain. What can participants expect to walk away from after attending your sessions?
I hope in the time that I spend with them that I babble something that they can apply.
Yeah.
You mentioned hitting them with a fire hose, and that is true at every conference. We try as faculty and conference directors to throw a lot of information at attendees. It can be very difficult to grasp everything. So for each class, it depends on what the attendee is looking for from that class.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I gave a sermon a couple of years ago, actually many years ago now, for a Word Reavers retreat. And I talked with my pastor at the time, and he said, Larry, if there are 50 people in attendance, they will hear 50 different things.
Mm-hmm.
So some of it depends on what the attendee is looking for, but I have to make sure that I deliver information that helps them.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
In an hour's time, 75 minutes, whatever time that we have, I just have to make sure I give them something that they can grab onto. What it is could be any number of things.
Right.
I know that's a vague answer. I'm sorry.
No, it's a true answer, because each person in your classes are going to have they're coming from a different place, and they will each take something away with them.
Yeah.
Absolutely. This is going to be your second year at KCWC. Last year we met virtually. This year we're going to be meeting in person. What was your experience like being part of KCWC?
I was nervous last year because in person, I mentioned already, my classes are interactive. You know, there's an ambiance, there's an energy in the room that gets created with the way that I teach. I was afraid that would not happen online last year. But the people who ran the rooms did a great job connecting me with the attendees. So we were able to have that interaction that I'm accustomed to in person. And the way the conference was run last year, I was very impressed with the leadership, how things started on time, the way that technology ran smoothly. So I was very impressed.
Yeah. I think we're so thankful for Greg and his technology, the way he can help us with technology. Well, we enjoyed having you. There was a lot of good feedback for your classes. So we're excited to have you again this year. And you're also going to be taking one-on-ones this year, pitching sessions. So you're going to be accepting pitches for Illumify Media. Is that correct?
Yes, that is. Go ahead.
I was going to say, what is an acquisitions editor, and what does that mean?
All right. An acquisition editor. My role with Illumify Media is to interact with attendees who want to get published. And I will listen to pitches. A one sheet will suffice. A writing sample would be great, but not necessary. What I do from a conference is if I think the project is something that we would be interested in publishing, I will ask for information, the one sheet to be sent to me electronically so I can meet with our owner. He makes final call on anything that we publish. We're a small publisher. We've been around 10 years. I work part-time for them. Excuse me. And then after he and I have a conversation, he will meet with the author.
Okay.
An acquisition editor is just a step in the publishing process.
Okay.
And it's good to go ahead.
No, you go ahead, finish. I'm sorry.
Meeting with an acquisition editor at a publisher is a great in to a publishing house.
Okay, good.
It's very, very similar to meeting with an agent and having an agent shop your book at multiple places. But meeting with the acquisition editor, it gets you a direct line with that particular publisher.
Would you have any advice on how someone could best prepare for that one-on-one?
Practice.
Okay, practice. Yeah.
Don't be nervous. Know your hook. Know your 25-word sentence that you want to share with an acquisition editor or an agent. And the reason I stress that is, in my experience, if you can't tell someone what your project is about in 25 words or less, you really don't know what it is.
Mm.
Okay. The other thing is you will use this pitch multiple places. People at Starbucks find out you're writing. What are you writing? Mm-hmm. Well, if you tell them in 25 words or less in a clear and succinct manner, you'll get one of two responses. One, oh, that's interesting. Tell me more. And then there's the dreaded, oh, that's nice. We never want to hear that one.
No.
Excuse me. On the flip side, oh, great. I have a tickle in my throat now. Oh. On the flip side, if you spend 2 to 3 minutes telling someone what your project's about, the old cartoon will come to mind. This eye will spin this way and the other eye will spin this way.
Right.
So my advice is know your pitch. Mm-hmm. Also, when you sit with someone at in a meeting and you talk and we don't pay attention or look you in the eye because we're flipping through something, don't stop talking. Because we are looking for certain things in your one sheet, your book proposal, or your writing, but we are listening to what you're saying. Mm-hmm. And the other thing to remember, and this is very important, all of us who will be on faculty have sat in that chair and know what it's like to pitch. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So just be yourself. Just be yourself.
I like that. That's really good. That is really good. What is your favorite thing about going to writers' conferences?
Oh, I love meeting writers. I love meeting writers. I love just the enthusiasm. I love just connecting people. When in my classes, when people introduce their name and what they write, like at a recent conference that I taught, we had 5 people who admitted they were writing spec fiction. Mm. They didn't know each other, but after class, they all got together, exchanged contact information, and took a group photo together.
Oh, that's beautiful.
So connecting, just being around writers. That's.
So is there anything you would like? I think what you're saying is, like, if someone has never come to a writers conference, what you just said would encourage them. But is there anything else? If there's someone on the fence, like, do I sign up to go to KCWC or not? What would you encourage them? How would you encourage them to join?
You don't want to do this alone. And the best place to find your tribe will be to attend a conference.
Yeah.
You will find an energy. You will find like-minded people. You will find people who struggle the same way that you do. This is a great place to find an accountability partner or meet others in a writer's group. Just getting connected and just feel the spirit of the conference. Every conference has a different spirit to it based on the leadership. But every conference that I've been on faculty, there is a sweetness because in our industry, we serve a great God. We are not in a dog-eat-dog environment. I've taught at general market conferences in which an attendee did not know where the appointment room was, and they asked another attendee where it was, and the attendee sent the person who questioned in the wrong direction and then went and took their appointment. We don't do that.
Mm-mm.
We gather to encourage, to love on each other, to lift each other up, because we serve a great God, and
Yeah.
we don't do it for ourselves. We do it to reach the lost.
Right. Absolutely.
Sorry, I'll start preaching if you don't.
No, it's wonderful because we are linking arms with each other and doing it together. We're not competing against one another, because what I write will not reach everybody. But what someone, my husband likes to write speculative fiction. He just finished his first speculative fiction book. I'm not going to speak to that audience because that's just not my background. So yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining us again. I'm looking forward to seeing you in Elizabethtown in October. So there in the show notes will be how you can register for the conference, and we would love to see as many of you there as possible. Thank you, Larry.
Cindy, thank you. This has been great, and I look forward to meeting everyone in person this year after the virtual conference, and I appreciate it, and I'm grateful that you're having me back.
Oh, we're excited.
Thank you.
We're excited. Thank you. Have a blessed day.
All right, you too.